I feel like as an entrepreneur, you're like a swimmer. You know, you're just going, you're going, you're going. Sometimes you got to pick your head up to see where you're going. Make sure you're going in the right direction. Sometimes you got to move. Sometimes you'll hit a wall. That's where you got to look. So as an entrepreneur, I'm always using that
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Never Settle Mindcast. Got a very special guest for you today. Marco the Champion's here. We're going to dive into his story. I can't wait to let him tell it. It's very inspirational, motivational, and you should get some good tips to take away from this. So I'll introduce my twin brother here. Didn't plan this. I swear to God, we didn't text each other. We just woke up, the energy was there, and we put on the same shirt. Both the first time wearing this shirt, and it's the exact same color. Yeah. What's up, man?
Amazing. That's awesome. Yeah, it's crazy how we wore the same shirt. It's like we're connected.
I know, right?
Yeah.
One day I had hair like that.
Yeah?
Yeah. We would have been even more connected.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it.
No, I appreciate it. So it's always good, I think, to give people just a little background about where you come from. I know you just moved back to San Diego, but why don't you just give a little bit of background about what you do, what you've been doing, obviously entrepreneur, CEO of iLegends, founder of Motiv brand. We got him behind us. You're wearing a Motiv brand t-shirt, but where'd the story begin, man? I know San Diego area, right?
Yep, definitely. Yeah. So I was born and raised in Chula Vista. That's hometown. So that's a good 15 minutes from here, downtown. Born and raised in like kind of like I would say a middle class, like family, an area. So it wasn't like I was in the hood or anything crazy. So I didn't have any problems like that, but so I was definitely blessed. But I always was surrounded by people who supported me. So I think I kind of, again, just blessed to have that, like a family who supported. But when I started getting into entrepreneurship, that's when things got a little fuzzy, especially when I told my parents that I'm gonna make $1 million with this t-shirt brand. That was definitely some news that they didn't want to hear. And yeah, so starting off kind of, as a young kid, super into sports, very competitive. I think kind of that's where my name was branched, the champion name was branched from. That's not my original name, but it's a name that I adopt now, Marco Champion. And it kind of just started with, just me being very competitive as an athlete. I got into skateboarding, and that's like that one sport that kind of just stuck with me till now. And,
nice.
And it's taught me a lot. And that's where like all my roots are from. It's just here in San Diego, skateboarding, very competitive in sports. Nice, man. And
we talked about it a little bit, I think yesterday. One of your first videos on YouTube was actually how to do a hard flip.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. That got like 14,000 views. And at the time I didn't even know about it. Like I was just doing it just because I love skateboarding, right? I wanted to teach people how to do certain tricks. But it's crazy looking back at that now and seeing what I'm doing with iLegends and social media and understanding like, how to utilize it as a tool to achieve some, business results. It's crazy looking back and seeing that I posted that video in 2012.
Yeah, no, that's crazy that was 9 years ago.
Yeah.
So how many takes did it take to land the hard flip?
Oh, dude, so many takes. Like I was gassed. Like, like I was, when I took the video, the final one that I filmed on my flip camera at the time, that's the camera that we had. I remember just like being so gassed and like trying to do the trick over and over again and then trying to explain it. And so that was, and then when I look back at it, I'm just like, wow, that's what I do now. Like I film videos, I explain what I do. Like I teach people, more on the business side of things than skateboarding. But looking back at that video, it's crazy that it's kind of like, it's where I started.
Nice. So the brands that we're going to obviously focus on today, iLegends, right?
Yeah.
Which is huge. Doing a lot of big things with business and blending the two worlds of sort of business and social media, because they're not so separate. And then Motiv brand, obviously, with iLegends. Give us a little background. When did you start iLegends?
Started iLegends about 2 years ago, 2018. The reason why I started at Legends, to give you a little bit more of a background, I actually started Motiv first. So Motiv was my first brand. And I realized that, as I was working, building the social media accounts, posting every day, I started realizing that social media is the tool that I need to learn and like how to really master if I want to get my brand out there, if I want it to be the next Nike, right?
Yep.
And so I started getting into like, just mentors and people teaching on YouTube about social media. And I found this one mentor, and this guy, he owned a record label, and he had like 200,000 followers on Instagram. And I DM'd him, I reached out, and we got connected. I remember being so hyped. I was like, oh my God, I'm talking on the phone with someone who has 200,000 followers. I'm like 18, 19 years old at the time, so didn't really like, attach more of a reputation other than followers and, what he's like the content that he's showing. So we became friends. He sold me on an Instagram package on how to grow followers. I started growing my my business page, Motiv. Not focused on my personal brand at all, which, as you know, iLegends is a personal branding agency. Like we're helping people build their personal brands and utilize that as leverage for their business. At the time, I didn't know that. So I just, was focused on Motiv, focused on building that out. And he taught me, he's like, hey, the reason why I got to where I'm at is because I built my brand, my personal brand. That's why my business is making 6 figures, utilizing these social platforms because my name's out there. And so I started realizing like, oh, maybe that's what I need to do. And so he's in the music industry at the time, and he kind of took me under his wing. The reason why he took me under his wing is actually a pretty crazy story. I was, 19 years old trying to make money. I all the money I put into the brand Motiv, like every single cent that I would get would go right into the brand. And so I'm just trying to figure out side projects to make more money. And I was doing Forex on the side, doing a couple other different crazy stuff. And I told my mentor, I was like, hey, you invest $6,000 into foreign exchange market, I'll double the money and we'll both make money. Because I didn't have that much capital to work on. I was turning like $200 into like $400 or into like $600. And I was like, dude, give me $6,000, I'll turn it into 12 grand. And it was, for some people, it might have been one of the biggest mistakes, but for me, it was one of the biggest lessons that I learned. I lost all that money. I lost his money. I lost my money. I'm 19 years old now. I'm a broke kid, and my mentor, my first mentor that I ever had, now I lost $6,000 of his money, and so that was a big turning point of what do I do next? Do I block him and he doesn't know where I live? He's in LA, I'm in San Diego, or do I figure out how to pay him back? And the type of character I am, I was like, dude, I have to pay this guy back. So I went to the bank, took out a $10,000 loan. I have no idea how I got approved. I'm like 19 years old, 20 years old. I remember walking in, put on the best watch I had on, looked nice. And I was like, I make money doing Forex, which I lost all of it literally like the day before. So I sold them the bankers on that, and I got a $10,000 loan and I paid him back. And since I paid him back, he took me under his wing. And that's when he showed me like what he was doing through the DMs on Instagram and how he was able to generate 6 figures, multiple 6 figures just through that. No other social platform, but just Instagram. And I was like, wow, this is really interesting. Yeah. And that's kind of what led to iLegends, because I saw what they were doing. They were blowing up artists in the music industry. And I didn't like how cutthroat like the music industry was. It was all about money, and there was so much power in building influence that I saw like a lot of opportunities. And when I branched off, I started building iLegends on the side, and I was working for him. I was trying to close out some deals, learning about the influence game. He didn't like the fact that I was trying to build something for myself. And he owed me a couple $1,000s worth of commissions, and he didn't pay me back. And he cut me off because he saw the iLegends page. And it was like a couple of weeks of me working on it. And I remember at the time I'm living, in a 1-bedroom apartment in Mira Mesa with my girlfriend Kim, and I had no money to pay rent. And it was like 3.5 weeks till rent was due. And so I had to it was kind of like my back was against the wall. I had to make iLegends profitable. Yeah. And for the first 3 weeks, it was zero. It wasn't profitable. And I was so scared. It was the first time where I actually thought I was going to get a job. I was like, damn, I have to get a job? Like, that's not what I do, right? I don't want to have a job. For an entrepreneur who is dedicated to become an entrepreneur, getting a job is like the scariest thing. But if, had to do what I had to do. 3.5 weeks in, I have like literally a couple of days until rent's due. I was able to close out some deals and I actually made a couple $100s over what the rent was. And then from there, it's just been kind of changing and been, what it is now. Like iLegends first started off as just a social media agency helping people grow followers, pretty much a marketing agency. Now it's a whole other platform. Now it's a platform for influential people who want to create impact, and we have the resources to help them get there. So it's been a couple of years of transitioning, but that's kind of where it branched off from.
Are you still involved in the Forex market?
Oh, hell no. I learned my lesson, man. Like I have friends that are doing it and they're crushing, but I've learned my lesson. There's some things that, I shouldn't touch, and that's one of them.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those scary volatile markets. I mean, they're big swings. If you pull out when you're up, no one ever does.
Right.
You're crushing it, and then you get crushed, and then people get pissed. Yeah, people get pissed, and they think it's fraudulent. And I can't tell you how many Forex traders I've represented. Thankfully,
Really?
you weren't one of them. Yeah, really. I was telling Patrick back there actually about it. But let's focus more now on iLegends, because one thing, obviously, people who know that I've been sitting on social media projects for years, and I was like, it sucks to say it, but when it came to that, I was like an all talk guy because I had these great ideas, but I wasn't taking any action. And I always had an excuse. Like, I'm not perfect. It was like, well, I got to build my practice. I got to take care of my wife. And, we have a kid. Now we have 2 kids. I got to take care of my family. There's always something. And, I set goals for myself this year, social media, and putting these life into these projects was one of them. And then the coronavirus came, and it was like, it's terrible. No one likes the impact it's having as far as like people dying and the serious repercussions that are going to be felt for years to come. But one of the blessings was it was a forced pause in the things that were taking up the time in my day. And I said to myself, and I told you this, if I can't do it now, I don't want it bad enough, because now I have more time. And I've loved it, and everyone's noticed the difference. And one of the things that's cool is you're not all about the money. It's a business that makes money, but you're selective in who you work with, in wanting to build legacy and impact, right?
Yes.
Talk about that, man, because
Totally.
So many people think that that's just talk and fluffery, and you can't build a business on good vibes only type attitude.
Right.
But you're doing it, and I'm seeing it and being a witness to the success. So tell people about that, please.
Yeah,
share.
definitely. So growing up, as I was pushing Motiv, that was my mission, was to impact the world, right? Like, I wanted to have Motiv be the next Nike, because Motiv is all about helping people stay motivated, right? Helping people be passionate. So I'm on this mission, but I felt like, getting the wrong mentors. I just wasn't on the right, there was no one there to support me. So iLegends is like a business that helps people that were just like me, people who are on a mission to help people, and they just got to get connected with the right resources. So yeah, we're very exclusive. We only want to work with people that we feel like we can build a legacy with, because it's like you said, it's more about the money, and it's not just fluff. It's like I feel so much better when I get a DM from someone that says, dude, you changed my life, than a check that comes in for $10,000. And I feel like if you can do both, then you're just living a very fulfilled life. And so I want to build my business around that. And I want to work with people who share similar core values of that, and are not just money, influence for an influencer standpoint. Because there's a big difference between an influencer and an influential person, right? Like, an influencer is like, dude, look at this, my Lamborghini, this is my stuff. Like, I'm so rich, I got all these things, and you should like my page. Which is honestly creating sadness in the people who are watching it, because they feel so detached. They're like, man, I wish I can get there. And that's not cool, right? So an influential person, on the other hand, is doing the opposite. Yeah, I have this Lamborghini. Yes, I have this mansion. Yes, I have all this stuff, but this is how I did it. And this is how you can do it too. And these are the opportunities that are presented in the marketplace that you should be taking action on now. These are the skills you should learn. These are, just basically teaching what people can do to get to that level. And that's been the big separator of what I focus on, who I want to bring onto the business. Is if they could be influential, then we're working with them.
No, that's awesome. And, it's using your platform to make the world a better place, right? By like shining a spotlight on people that can help other people, or be inspirational to other people, not just flash and make people feel less than, Exactly. And there's a fine line in that, and like catching eyes and getting the attention and the followers, and for the right reasons. And I appreciate the work that you do. And I think the ripple effect of that is being felt all around. Let's talk about your sort of holistic approach to life, and specifically where it started with you have this fascination with energy, with laws of the universe, with numbers, with yoga, meditation. I mean, all of these different things that make up who you are and part of your daily routine, right?
Yeah.
Can you walk us through some of those, and then give us the backstory of where it started? Because I think that's one of those points. If you're looking at your life on a timeline, that's something everyone who knows you can look back and say, nope, that's where it started, and here's where I could have went up or I could have went down. You know what I mean?
Totally.
So why don't you tell us where that goes?
Yeah. So, growing up, I wanted to be a pro skater. So I was just super focused on that. But once, when I was 15, I got in a huge accident where I got ran over by a car. That completely shifted my mindset. Being ran over, my dreams of being a pro skater were kind of crushed, right? Like, I'm not going to be doing this no more. Doctors told me that I would never walk again. They told me that I was lucky just to be alive. And at that time, being in the hospital for 3 to 4 weeks, I pretty much was all in my mind. And, leading out of the hospital, I was in a wheelchair for a few months. Got into this depression mindset. Like, I was just so sad about what happened, so sad that my dreams were crushed, that I wouldn't be a pro skater. I had sponsorships. I mean, I was on my way there. And that sadness for me to hit that rock bottom is what I felt, is how I was able to kind of bounce up, because I was just trying to figure out ways to feel happier. And meditation, luckily I found meditation through YouTube. I was like studying the mind, because I realized, like, hey, I'm able to learn how to walk again, because the doctor said, hey, you're going to be in a wheelchair for the rest of your life. And I was like, no. I was like, I'm going to get back up and I'm going to skate. And if I don't become a pro skater, I'm at least going to be able to hop on my board and just ride around. And I totally believe that to the core. And a few months later, my feet started moving because I had my nerves damaged. So my legs were pretty much out of commission. I had a few surgeries, and the doctors were like, yeah, you're going to be able to walk. I'm like, okay, why though? Like, why did that happen? I started diving into the mindset. And on YouTube, I'm just like literally searching up everything I can figure out on mind. Like, what's the power of your mind? I started tapping into subconscious, conscious, two separations of the mind that we have. And then I got into meditation, like how to strengthen the mind. And when I started doing meditation, I was like 17 years old, 17 and a half, 18 years old at the time. And I had nothing else better to do. And I was sad. So I meditated for 5 hours a day for like 3 months straight. And I was doing it to feel happy because I felt good when I meditated. And I realized there was a huge side effect that happened after a few months of doing that. And I was tapped with my purpose. I was like, I need to share it to the world. I need to motivate others to get up and do what they love to do. This, you're only here for like a certain amount of time. It can be all taken away. And if you're not focused on what you love, then you're wasting your life in the beginning. So I was just so like passionate. And that's when I started Motiv. And that was the first brand that was like, I felt like was my purpose, and the first time I've ever felt purpose. And that's kind of where I started getting into like, very spiritual practices, was because of that meditation and because of the insights that I got from that.
So you're run over by a car, your body, dreams physically crushed by the car, right? You're not skateboarding. They're saying you're not walking.
Yep.
You're 15?
15 at the time, yeah.
And then you go through multiple surgeries. And somewhere in there, like, how did you, what was the sign? How did you get turned on to the pathway or to the idea of like mind hacking or mind control and then meditation, right? Like, was it something that, were you watching YouTube because you couldn't get out of bed and something popped up, or did someone mention it to you? How did that come to you to see that as a possible avenue to explore?
It was my passion, honestly. It was my passion for skateboarding. I just wanted to get back up and skate. Like that, I didn't think about the mind. I didn't think about healing myself. I just thought, I want to get back up and do what I love. And that energy is what drove me to heal myself. Then after I started tapping into like the why, like how did I do that? Why did that happen? And then that's when I started getting into the mind.
So it started more on like you having just narrow, pure focus on like, my goal is to walk again, so that I can skate again.
Yep.
And then once you accomplish that goal, despite what the doctors were saying, you realize like, wait a minute, medicine, tools, surgery are telling me one thing, and my mind was saying no, and I followed my mind, and now I'm doing it. Let me figure out how I was able to do it. Is that sort of how it went?
Exactly. Yeah.
That's powerful stuff, man. I got a little bit of goosebumps there. I'm not going to lie. That's cool. And so, were you bringing people along on your sort of spiritual journey? Like, I know you and Kim are high school sweethearts. Were you like in your zone meditating by yourself? Were you having like turning groups on and sharing your benefits of meditation?
So in the beginning, I went very lone wolf, because after doing all the research and meditating, I started really just, kind of trying to figure out myself, right? So I would lock myself in a room and just meditate, work on Motiv, and I was just locked in there. I met Kim a year and a half after my accident. I was 16. And it's been 8 years that we've been together, almost 8 years, 7 years. And it's been absolutely amazing. She's seen my journey from the beginning. I remember when I started pushing out t-shirts for Motiv, we went to the mall and we were selling t-shirts, dude, like from 8:30 a.m. to 8:30 p.m. selling t-shirts, making nothing of money. But Kim's right there, like standing next to me, helping sell those shirts. It means the world to me. So now I'm so happy and grateful that I can give her that life that I feel like she deserves, because she's been with me since the get.
That's so cool, man. And Motiv brand is back. It never went anywhere, but I've noticed on your story, you're wearing a t-shirt today. You have new products at Motiv that you're launching. Where do people go to check out your Motiv stuff?
So you can't buy Motiv just yet if you're watching it today, but we're going to be launching Motiv very, very soon. And I have some really cool marketing schemes on the back end stuff.
Okay.
Because iLegends, I've been super hyper focused on that business. It's obviously driving all the revenue to fuel our life and fuel basically everything else we're doing. And now that I have the right systems and operations and people in place, I can look to scale it and also look to have a little bit more time to work on Motiv. Motiv is definitely not going away. It had to be put aside while I worked on iLegends, and sometimes you got to make some sacrifices to create the results that you want to create, because I'm always thinking long term.
Yeah, that's another big thing that so many people now are so short-sighted, like instant gratification. I want this now. They don't think about patience and long play. And sort of life by design where they're planning it out. That's one thing, like this isn't disrespectful at all. You're young, and that's a positive thing, that you're so far ahead of the curve, and you're in your early 20s and your late teens to the 20s. You already started figuring out the power of mind, focus, determination, and discipline. Those are keys that I meet people in their 30s, 40s, 50s that don't know those things, and it's sad. And or maybe they know it and they don't want to get uncomfortable and accept it because it would mean significant changes.
Very.
And so it's exciting to see the build. One thing that I'm able to see, working with you, becoming a friend, working with you on the business side, is how you've built this sort of work-life balance by incorporating everything you like into one, right? Like you've used this you were going out to Arizona a lot, so you were out in Arizona and you moved your business hub out there and primarily working on, coast to coast, but most of your clients are in the West Coast, so you're floating around. Yep. Now you're back to San Diego. You have a ridiculous place where you live, right? But can you talk about, you consciously made a decision to I'm going to only work with people that I love and are passionate, and I'm only going to do things that sort of are all positive. And you've incorporated sort of content creation, your workspace, your office space, lifestyle, and you're sort of living this dream life. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah. I mean, this is something that I've envisioned for a long time. When I was living in that 1-bedroom apartment with Kim at the time where, I had my back against the wall, barely starting iLegends, I was listening to a lot of Abraham Hicks. I don't know if you ever heard of that person. But she was talking a lot about being in the vortex and like feeling and thinking that you're that person that you want to become. So I completely crafted a life. And it's funny, when you look at my dream board, there's a view of the ocean in downtown, and I've always wanted that view. And just recently moved to San Diego a couple of weeks ago. I looked at the dream board; it's the same view. So it's crazy to see that dream life being crafted. But a lot of times people ask me, is it hard work or is it smart work? And I say it's both, right?
Yeah.
But it's utilizing smart work first, understanding that long term, right? Figuring out how to minimize time and maximize results, and then putting the hard work in. And I just put my head down and just grinded until it happened. That's where Motiv comes from. It's the slogan, stay motivated. If you can figure out what you want, you can accomplish it. I mean, nothing in life is unattainable. You can do anything you set your mind to, as long as you stay motivated until it happens. And that's the whole message behind the brand.
Yeah, no, and that's a big key, right? Is so many people work hard, but their energy's not focused, so they're spread too thin, and they're not making much progress in any one front, so they feel like they're not going anywhere. Where if they just focused on let's get rid of the noise and the distractions, and what do I need to do for me? And there's this sort of counter narrative in society about how, hey, that's you're being selfish. Yeah, but no. You know what I mean? You got to know what you want
Mm-hmm.
to be your best self, right?
Yep.
To be your most productive self. And I know there's like 5 things that make me really, truly happy. And I can put my head down and lift it up 2 days later, and I really don't notice, because if I'm in those things, the rest is just noise.
Yeah.
And then it makes sort of the hard work easier. It doesn't really feel as much as work, even though you're putting in the long days,
Totally.
right? Would you agree?
I would 100% agree.
And it's crazy because we feel, and I'm guilty of it, I think we all are to some extent, whether they want to admit it, we feel like we have to do certain things because we feel we should be doing them, right? Or like society, you have to do this, or like, I know with law, I was the first person in my family to get into law, like go to college, go to law school, become a lawyer. So a lot of my perception of law, other than what I personally experienced, was like input from other people, or like what I thought or understood or thought lawyers should be doing, or this is how you should get your business, or this is how you should go to court. You know what I mean? And I spent a lot of time in my early years of law trying to emulate people I saw were successful. And then I remember when it clicked for me, where I said, oh, wait a minute, like I can take these nuggets from everybody, but then I got to make them for me. Right. You know what I mean? And then once I started being more authentic and doing it, that same idea, but in my own way, it was way more natural, and the results sort of speak for themselves.
Totally.
Do you remember having a moment like that, like in your business? Because you get bad advice too, you know, when everyone has an idea of what you should be doing. Do you remember a time like that where you sort of had to tune somebody out, or consciously made a risk type decision to say, I appreciate, but I'm not going to do that?
Yeah. So I have another podcast called the Motiv Mindset podcast, and it's obviously attached to the Motiv brand. It's because when I first started that, and all these goals, all these things I wanted to accomplish were so far-fetched for everybody around me. My own parents, my friends, everybody around me was like, you're crazy. You're not going to do that. Like, giving advice of what I should do. Go to school, do this, get a degree, invest into, your money in certain investments. I had to tune everybody out. Like, I had to just think for myself and figure out what's best for me, because everybody knows what's best for themselves. And I feel like a lot of information that's given from others, even though it's coming from a place like of love, sometimes from family and friends, like they love you and they want to see the best, but it's not the information you should run with. I think, focus. And that's why, meditation really helped me, because I was so tapped in to, and I would like to say God, tapped into like a higher power, that my information that was being fed to me was like, hey, this is what I need to do. This is what I'm going to do. And I don't care what anybody says about it, because I have to make this happen. So that's why, like you mentioned, I have this like practice that I do every single morning. That's why I'm very dedicated on personal development, and, kind of making sure that I'm upgrading my character in life every single day, so that I could play the game at a higher level.
That's a good segue. You must host a podcast. Let's dive into it. The Champion Challenge. Let's dive into your morning routine. Tell people what it's like. How's your day start?
Definitely. So the goal for the morning routine, the goal for the Champion Challenge, is to progress in 3 areas: your mind, your body, your spirit. I figured out that these are like the 3 areas in life that we navigate life with, right? Our body is obviously, it's our body. We move around, we walk, we talk. Our mindset determines what we do, like, what we do next. And our spirit is kind of like our GPS, our navigator. And so I want to make sure that, the more we progress in those 3 areas, the more sharp I am in this video game of a life that we call it. So in the morning, the first thing I do is put on some positive affirmations, motivational content, things that feed my subconscious brain information that I want to program it with. Because the first 10 minutes when you wake up and the last 10 minutes before you go to sleep, that's when your subconscious mind is most suitable for programming. And for people, who are not aware of the subconscious mind, that's the part of the mind that is awake when you're sleeping. That's the part of the mind that creates the reality that we live. So once I started figuring that out, I'm like, okay, how do you, program that? And it's as simple as just putting the words in there in the beginning of the day that you want to carry with you. And so that's the first thing I do, is positive affirmations. While I do that, I typically start journaling. I answer 3 questions in my journal every single day. What am I most grateful for? What am I most excited about? And what am I committed to getting done for today? I answer those 3 questions. I listen to the positive affirmations for 10 minutes. And then I start getting into some yoga. Yoga has been really nice, really nice practice and part of my morning routine. I started doing it only because of skateboarding. Like I had the accident, so I need to get my body loose and make sure I'm stretching and making sure that, I'm not hurting myself basically on my skateboard. But I realized that again, doing it for a certain reason, I got a lot of other benefits from it. It's actually really good spiritual practice as well. Like you meditate while you do yoga. And so I just added that as my routine because it was so beneficial. So affirmations, goal setting, writing down those questions, journaling, yoga. Then I do yoga, and then after yoga, I do a meditation. Meditation has stuck with me ever since the beginning. I find meditation sometimes, dude, like if I have the time, I'll wake up really, really early. I'll meditate for like an hour and a half, 2 hours straight. Sometimes, not all the times. Majority of the times, I'm just 10, 15 minutes. That's all I need to get my mind right. But yeah, meditation is a huge part of it. After meditation, I go into a workout. Recently, I have the pool, so I've been swimming. I've been doing laps. I still skate. I skate around the block a couple times. One leg up a hill, another leg up the up the hill. It's really nice being here in downtown San Diego to do that. So that kind of knocks out all the pillars, and at the end of it, I attach being healthy with it. So I have a healthy breakfast, and that kind of wraps up my morning routine.
Nice, man. Where can somebody go on YouTube or wherever to find some sort of like how-to meditation or like guided meditation tips, because people have to learn how to meditate.
Yep,
like you
totally.
Can't just sit in a room and make funny noises and you're okay. You know what I mean? Like there's an actual practice to channeling your breathing and focusing your mind, quieting your mind. And it's a skill. And I have a terrible time at it. Like it's really tough for me. My mind's racing is an understatement. And so for me to get to the point, and I've had a few magic moments in yoga and just quiet reflective thought where I've been able to focus my mind in almost like a trance state, as if I'm almost sleepwalking. It's kind of weird to describe, but I know it when I'm in it. Yeah, like lucid dreams type thing. And it's a cool experience. And if I could get there, automatically through some training, that would be excellent. Where would you suggest people go to learn more about that?
So I promise I don't endorse them. Like they don't pay me, but the Honest Guys, I say it all the time. They have a really good YouTube channel. The Honest Guys on YouTube do a lot of guided meditations, and I think it's a lot easier. And to this day, I still do guided meditations. I still put on a guided meditation because it helps, put you in that zone. Listening to someone and focusing on their words is a lot easier than being very silent. And because your thoughts run amok, right?
Yeah.
And it's just like going to the gym. When you go to the gym and you do some bicep curls, you start getting a bigger bicep, right? But you don't realize it right away. It takes like a few weeks to a few months for you to really see a big difference. And with meditation, it's the same thing. Whenever you have these thoughts and you bring it back to the focus of your breath, that's like you pulling that bicep curl. And so the first couple of days, the first week, you're not going to see a big difference meditating. Like you're going to practice it, but it's not until a few weeks to a few months of you being consistent is where you actually see a difference in your life.
Yeah, it's good to know. I do it, try to do those things. And even some days I get up, I start my day. If I do my morning routine, and I was in a good pattern of doing morning routines with positive affirmations. And there were some days I would get to that sort of lucid dream state while like progressing and still being in that subconscious window. And there are other days that sometimes I think it puts me out and I fall back asleep and I wake up. I'm like, oh, what the hell?
That happens.
It's, I try not to, know, but it does happen to the best of us. So one thing you didn't touch on, it's because it's not part of your morning routines. Can you share a little bit of your insight and knowledge of these laws of the universe and numbers? Because I know you're big into numbers.
Yes. So I got into like numerology and the brand Motiv. I don't know if you noticed, but that triangle is actually 3 sevens. And 7 has been something that like a number that I've attached to just my higher power, right? It's like the 7th dimension is like the heaven. The more I studied about it, the more I realized that if you see 7s, that means you're going in the right direction. That means you're being guided by a higher power. Continue doing what you're doing. And other numbers mean other things, but that one just very like stood out to me a lot, and that's how I created the logo was the 3 sevens. And it also means there's more than to meet the eye. How's that phrase go? There's more.
There's more than meets the eye.
There's more than meets the eye, and that's why the 3 sevens. That's why the 3. We got phone going on in the background.
Someone's popular.
Oh shit, it's mine. Can you turn it off? I thought I put it on vibrate. We're gonna have to cut that part off.
Oh man.
Put it on vibrate, yeah.
There we go.
We had a phone in the middle of the podcast. We're just
Perhaps
gonna
that
have
was
to cut that off.
the higher power.
It's the higher power, right? They don't want me talking about the laws.
I know. I didn't see the phone number. It looked like a lot of sevens.
Right?
Check it out.
Yeah. So sevens, higher power. It's just, numerology is everywhere, and everything has numbers. And that's what I realized when I started studying about, just life in general. I started questioning everything. Once I realized that my mindset was, the driver of my life, and that I could change anything, and that my beliefs were kind of like shattered at that time, and I was starting to like just question everything, like what's war, what's this, how we think, like programming, all these things, and numerology came up in it, and numbers came up, and numbers weren't something we created, it's something that we found. It's something that's a part of the universe. It's universal. Everything has a measurement, everything has a time. We're living by this time, right? So numbers are very important, is what I figured out, and 7 was just one of those numbers. I was like, dude, this is sick. This number means there's more to meet the eye, and there's definitely a lot more than people realize, and that's why I created the brand. It's like, hey, stay motivated and realize there's a lot more than what you think there is. Yeah, no, that's super key. And a lot of things that come back, even you're talking about like your family who just didn't understand your dreams, even though they're coming from a place of love, and we have it built in us too. The biggest sort of chain I see on people getting to where they want to go is themselves, the people they surround themselves with, and their limiting beliefs, right? Yep.
If you can't imagine it, you can't have it, right? Like you'll never achieve more than your goal, right? If you set a goal at 1 million, you're never going to get to 2 million, right? It's just, you can't outgrow your mind. And so people need to understand how powerful that is. And when people think they're crazy, usually it's because those people have limiting beliefs and it's not real to them. They can't imagine it. That doesn't mean it's not for you.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Just wish more people would get that. I see it. And one thing I try to do now, it's not like my kids are experiments, but they sort of are, because, learning to be a parent every day, and it's always a struggle every day, especially adjusting from like, hey, very professional, serious workspace, and coming home, I can't communicate with my kids the same way I communicate with my clients, right? But I make a conscious effort, and so does my wife, to never put those limiting beliefs, on my kids, because our parents didn't know they were doing it. There's not as much knowledge available then as there is now with the ideas and the psychology behind it. But I'm interested to see sort of the next generation of kids and leaders come up and what they can achieve, because people are more conscious of not putting those limiting beliefs or institutional strictures on their kids. You know what I mean?
Totally. Yeah. And my parents used to say, I just want my kids to have more than what my parents gave me. Mm-hmm. And now I feel like we're transitioning to, it's not about a materialistic thing. It's about teaching your kids more than what your parents taught you. I think that's the biggest transition. I know that when I have kids, I want them to learn more than what my parents taught me. Yeah. And that's the way I see it.
Yeah. Knowledge is power for sure. So we have iLegends. Motiv brand's got a big launch coming up, right?
Yep.
And we're going to be patient for that.
Yes.
You have your morning routine. What sort of 3 things you could identify would you attribute to be the biggest sort of keys to your success?
Belief. I would say that would be number 1. If you, like you said, if you can't imagine it, it can't happen. Like, you have to believe that it's already happened before it actually becomes real. And I think that, me believing that I was generating multiple 6 figures prior to that happening was the biggest factor of it actually happening. And so I look at it more on a spiritual level, and then obviously there's hard work, there's hustle. You gotta love what you do, because a lot of times when you don't love what you do, it's easy for you to quit, and it's okay for you to do stuff that you don't love to do. And I know Grant Cardone says it all the time, you gotta do that, right? I just feel like if you love it, it doesn't feel like work. You put in 16 hours a day on my brand sometimes, and I'll wake up and I'm not tired, right? But if I put in 16 hours or 8 hours on something I don't love, I'm so tired. Yeah. I feel drained from it. So I think it's very important to figure out like what you love. And that would be my second thing, would be like beliefs. Second thing, tie your passions into your career somehow, some way, even if it's not directly proportioned to it. Like, for Motiv, I was super passionate about skateboarding. And I was able to attach skateboarding to Motiv because we have, skateboards, and it had skateboarders as promoting the brand. And so I was able to attach it, and everybody's different. Everyone has different scenarios. Maybe it doesn't have to be with what you work. Maybe it can be after work. But I feel like, kind of having that passion keeps your energy at a higher level, so that you can manifest. Because for us to manifest what we want to manifest, we need a lot of energy.
Yep.
And third, so we got beliefs, we got passion. The third thing I think will contribute to my success is just work ethic.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta put in the time, you gotta put in the work. I feel like as an entrepreneur, you're like a swimmer. You're just going, you're going. Sometimes you gotta pick your head up to see where you're going. Make sure you're going in the right direction. Sometimes you gotta move. Sometimes you'll hit a wall. That's where you gotta look. So as an entrepreneur, I'm always using that analogy. It's like I'm a swimmer. Like hustle. Pick your head up. Figure out where you're going. Plan. Work smart. Then put your head back down. Hustle. And that's been just reoccurring in my life for the past couple of years.
No, that's huge. And I think that everyone who listens to that, if you've listened to these podcasts, you'll see the trends. Even though the guests are all different, they're all sort of in different avenues of their life, different ages, different backgrounds and professions. Like there's certain trends that come through with success leaving clues, and belief tied into that. You heard the power of visualization. You heard about a vision board. You heard about subconsciously planting that image out there. Years later, he looks up and realizes, look, I have this exact view now from a high-rise in downtown San Diego overlooking the Bay, Coronado, the Pacific Ocean, and downtown San Diego. So visualization's key. We have planning and passion, which is do what you love, right? And that's where you're in your space to be your best self and do your best work. You're not faking that. Your energy will vibrate, and everyone who receives it will know. And then third, you have work ethic, hard work. But the thing about swimming, I guess you can tread water, but you're not moving anywhere. It's consistency, right? So you're putting all your passion into this work ethic, and you're consistently grinding at it and taking your head up to take not only where you're going, but signs of improvement, right? Mm-hmm. You got to celebrate the little victories and take stock, and then plan ahead and keep going.
Yep.
Right? Stay motivated.
Exactly.
Well, cool, man. Look, I think there's going to be more of these talks. I know you got a podcast, obviously, where, our
Definitely
friendship business is not going anywhere. So it's one of those things where I see this being, a multi-part type sit down, but the nuggets that you shared today and your story, which I know is out there, people who look at you like you were run over by a fucking car. We sort of glossed over it, and it's not a murder film, and we don't got to go through all the gore details, but you have hardware in your body that's not yours, and you had to overcome walking, and you're living out your dreams in your early 20s. It's crazy, man. It's to see that, it's inspirational to me, someone who's 10 years plus older than you, and I'm like, dude, this guy gets it. I can't wait to see what's next. You surround yourself with a group of positive people who are all motivated, and there's a lot of laughter around here, a lot of fun, because everyone's sort of in their lane, enjoying what they're doing. And I just appreciate you, man. Appreciate you coming on, and can't wait till next time. Yeah, dude. Thanks for having me. It was fun. Appreciate it, man. Yeah. Have a good one, Marco.